What is going on in this painting? What do you see? What do you recognize? All right, so a few things I want you to notice. Do you see that this is a landscape? A landscape is different from a portrait. A portrait is like a picture of a person. A landscape is a picture of the land. Not too hard, right? And so you'll see a horizon line here. The horizon line separates the sky from the land. And in this picture, this landscape, you see a few interesting things. The first thing that you get your attention called to, probably because it's big and dark and right in the middle, is this windmill. What's that building called? A windmill, yeah. So it has those big blades that turn when the wind blows. And then inside of that building, which you can't see, but there's all these gears and mechanisms that make things happen. So when the wind blows those blades around, it turns the other gears and then it will like pump water or whatever it's set up to do. In this case, this is a picture of a windmill in Holland. And in Holland, they often had to pump water out of the ground because they are at sea level. In other words, when it rains or when there's a lot of water coming from the ocean, sometimes they get flooding if they don't pump the water out of the ground. So that's what the windmills were used for in this case. Now, do you also see a house? And then do you also see that this land is full of different colors? So it's not just a regular field. It's not just a field of grass or, like a lawn that you mow with a lawnmower. Those are flowers. It's hard to see exactly what kind of flowers they are because Monet painted with a very impressionistic style. In other words, he wanted to give you the feeling of what it looked like. He wasn't interested in making it look exactly like a photograph. He wanted to give you the impression of what he was looking at. And so sometimes just big, bold blotches of color were what he used to get that feeling across. Those are tulips. The title of this painting is called Tulips in Holland. A tulip is a very simple, beautiful flower, and they come in every color of the rainbow. Even colors that aren't in the rainbow, like black. There's such a thing as a black tulip. So tulips are very famous in Holland. In other words, Holland is a country that is famous for growing tulips. And so this is showing you these big, beautiful fields of blooming flowers. All right, I told you to think about primary and secondary colors. So I want you to point to where you see some of the different colors. Point to where you see red. Yeah, there's definitely a bunch of red in these flowers here. There's some in the roof too, I think, of this house. Where do you see yellow? Yep, there's some yellow tulips in there too, back a little ways. How about blue? Blue sky, for sure. All right, now let's think secondary colors. Do you see any green? Yeah, the stems, you can see green all in between here because the stems of the tulips are green and the leaves. So of course you would see some green in there. How about orange? I think orange really shows up in some of these fields back here, orange. And violet or purple. That's not as obvious, but maybe some of the color, like right at the horizon, looks kind of purplish.